को सुना रहा है आप तो मॉड्यूल म्यूट करके
अभी म्यूट करो
जी सर.
Good morning, Mr. Gaur.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you all? All
Robin.
well? Yes.
Fine. Hello, Mr. Joseph.
Hello, Mr. Rakesh and Mr. Robin. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. All set?
Yeah, yes, of course.
Yeah, I sent you a mail a little while ago also regarding Ms. Deepta's introduction.
Yeah,
You have made that small correction?
that is fine, but it still looks a little bit longer, so we have to see.
No. You can make it short. Hello, Mr. Joseph. Hello. Hello, Mr. Joseph. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes. Can we start?
Yeah, we are live now. Yeah, we may start the proceedings. We are live now. Yeah. Please.
Okay, great. A very good morning and warm welcome to all our friends who have joined us today for this wonderful webinar on prevention of malnutrition among children and child welfare. So my name is Joseph Wesley. I am the head of our anti-trafficking project, which is being implemented in West Bengal and Assam. So I am from World Vision India. So I'll be your co-host in this webinar. So this webinar is being organized by our Action Committee of Unaided Recognized Private Schools, a registered organization, and also Udisha, a non-governmental organization, and a coalition partner of Women's World Summit Foundation, a Geneva-based network. So Women's World Summit Foundation has a consultative status with UN agencies, particularly with ECOSAC and UNFPA. So a brief introduction about Udisha. So Udisha is a national voluntary and not-for-profit organization registered by Government of India. And Udisha is in a special consultative status and good standing with ECOSAC. And we are also laureate of 2011 International Worldwide Summit Foundation Prize for innovative prevention of abuse and violence against children and youth. And the host of this particular webinar is Action Committee, Unaided Recognized Private Schools, an umbrella organization of more than 2,000 schools. The organization is primarily aiming to advance, promote, cultivate, improve, help, disseminate, encourage, and generally among the unaided recognized private schools in the National Capital Territory of India. So friends, today we are living in a time of uncertainty. So there are more questions in our mind than answers. Some of the questions include, will there be a third wave after the devastating second wave we have experienced? So would our schools be opened? If opened, how safe our schools would be for our children? More badly, those millions of children, especially girls, would they ever be able to come back to school if schools are reopened again? Will our girls be able to escape from forced and early marriage or trafficking? Or will there be a phenomenal increase in trafficking and child marriage as the kind which we saw at the time of first wave of a COVID pandemic? Will those millions of migrant laborers who came back to their native places jobless, would they ever be able to reclaim their jobs and livelihood? So these are some of the fundamental questions that we are struggling to answer. So the second wave had left more than 120,000 children as orphans in our country today. So we ask, these children are staring at a very grim scenario where they might be exploited and they might have to undergo various forms of violence, be at home or in an institutional setting where they might be placed in. So besides the child protection issues that we face today, the other issues are also not very encouraging. So our own government estimate says that there are 17 lakh severely acute malnourished children in our country. And there are 15 lakh moderately accused malnourished children in our country. And we have not done very well in terms of our global hunger index. We are placed at the bottom of the pyramid at 94th place out of the 107 countries. Some of our neighbors have overtaken us. So this is the scenario we are living. Even before the pandemic, the situation was very bad. But the pandemic has only exacerbated the vulnerability of children of our country today. So friends, it is important to keep the conversation going. So that is why today we are here to discuss the two most fundamental problems faced by our children. One is violence, another one is of nutrition. So I would like to invite all of you to actively participate, and please make sure that you stay muted at the time of this webinar if you are not speaking. Also, if you want, please switch off your video to help with the bandwidth. But if you are going to speak, you are welcome to switch on your video so everybody can see you. So with that, I would like to invite Mr. Jyoti Arora, Principal of Mount Abu Public School, the member of the Action Committee Unaided Recognized School, to open this webinar with a brief introductory remark. Over to you, ma'am, Jyoti.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Joseph, for the wonderful introduction. Good morning and very warm greetings to one and all present here in this webinar. I extend a very warm welcome to an eminent leader, a dedicated and passionate educationist, and a profound influencer, Shri S.K. Bhattacharya ji, President of Action Committee of Unaided Private Schools, which is an umbrella organization of more than 2,000 private schools in Delhi. He has been leading us all under the umbrella organizations of many sub-organizations, and this organization has schools as members from all across India for over 20 years now. He has indeed proved to be an eminent source of inspiration and an illumination for us all. I also extend a very special welcome note to other dignitaries and the prominent speakers to take out their time from their busy schedule to enlighten us all on the periphery of malnutrition. So we all know that children are our only hope for the future, but we are the only hope for their present and their future. And that invites our serious attention towards the issues related to our children. And we owe it to our children to give them a dignified and hopeful future as the vision we offer them shape their outlook. So Action Committee aims to advance, promote, cultivate, improve, help, disseminate, and encourage the quality of education with the motive to maintain the highest professional standards to ensure students' success in all standards. We ensure the continuous and top-of-the-notch governance and management, evolve uniform code of conduct, which will improve the image, quality, and strength of the unaided recognized private schools in Delhi. We are as diverse as the students we represent, but united in our purpose, championing justice and excellence in education. Our objective has been to ensure the smooth growth and development of each and every child associated with our organization. Our mission is to advocate for education professionals and to unite our members and the nation to fulfill the promise of public education to prepare every student to succeed in a diverse and interdependent world. Apropos of the initiative by WWSF with the Sustainable Development Goals to end abuse, exploitation, trafficking, and all forms of violence and torture against children by 2030, I, on behalf of Action Committee of Unaided Private Schools, feel proud to be a part of this noble cause, intending to spread awareness about the noxious effects of malnutrition among children. I also thank Mr. Rakesh Gaur, President Udisha, for giving us the opportunity to become a part of this generous cause. Good nutrition allows children to survive, grow, develop, learn, play, participate, and contribute, while malnutrition robs children of their futures and leaves young lives hanging in the balance. Malnutrition is a universal problem that has many forms. No country is untouched, especially undeveloped countries. It affects all geographies, all age groups, rich, poor, and all genders. Malnutrition in all its forms includes undernutrition, inadequate vitamins or minerals, overweight, obesity, and resulting diet-related non-communicable diseases. The intent of conducting such webinar is to educate us all on the motive, ill effects, and the need to eradicate it. It invites the attention of everyone associated with children's life. So this webinar will especially focus on the various aspects of malnutrition, like its causes and immunity, recent changes in child protection, eat right and eating smart, mindful eating for body and brain, and so on. The session is aimed to determine the risk factors associated with the same with both health and socio-economic consequences. We will also learn how the developmental, economic, social, and medical impacts of the global burden of malnutrition are serious and lasting for individuals and for their families, for communities and the countries. It is a world health crisis, and this is just a small endeavor from Udisha side, from Action Committee side on the long walk. So hope our endeavors in this direction will prove to be of some help. Once again, I extend a very warm welcome to everyone present in today's webinar. Thank you so very much.
So sorry for that technical glitches. And there are lots of our participants are attempting to join this workshop, which has been disrupting the things. And I would like to invite the other participants who are unable to join in the Facebook, which is this event is being telecast live in the website. So moving forward, so we have a special keynote address from the founder and CEO of Women's World Summit Foundation, Ms. Kelly Pradavant, and unfortunately she is not able to be with us today because of her other prayer engagement, but she has kind enough to send a brief note for us to go through. So let me read out the statement on behalf of her. Prevention of malnutrition. Definition. Malnutrition refers to deficiencies, excesses, or imbalances in a person's intake of energy and of nutrition. Malnutrition during childhood can lead not only to long-term health problems, but also to educational challenges and limited work opportunities in the future. Malnourished children often have smaller babies when they grow up. It can also slow recovery from wounds and illnesses, and it can complicate diseases such as measles, pneumonia, malaria, and diarrhea. It can leave the body more susceptible to disease. World hunger is classified as the want or scarcity of food in a country. Hunger is also referred to as malnutrition, including undernutrition and overnutrition. There are three forms of undernutrition: underweight, stunting, and wasting. Being underweight or having a low weight for a child's age can imply both stunting and wasting. Studies show that decreased malnutrition leads to higher school completion rates. Providing nutritious food at schools in an effective way to improve literacy rates and help children break out of the cycle of poverty. 171 million people could be lifted out of poverty if all students in low-income countries acquired basic reading skills. The right to food is protected under international humanitarian law. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 25, and the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, Article 11, ensure that the right to food is a human right. However, in much of the world, hunger and malnutrition are not being treated as human rights issue. Data shows that there is enough food produced annually to feed the entire global population, yet hundreds of millions of people still go to bed hungry each night. Urgent actions are especially needed to protect the nutritional status of the most vulnerable children during the pandemic. Chronic malnutrition or stunting puts children at greater risk of dying from common infections. It is also associated with poor cognitive development. It is also associated with the proportion of children under 5 years of age suffering from stunting decreased from 32% in 2000 to 23% in 2015. However, 144 million children under age 5 were still affected by stunting in 2019. 3/4 of these children lived in just two regions, Southern Asia 39% and Sub-Saharan Africa 36%. World Food Program studies show that prior to COVID-19, close to 129 million children in Asia and Asia Pacific region received school meals, primarily through government-led national school feeding programs. Due to COVID-19 school closures, many of these children stopped receiving on-site school meals. Although some countries introduce alternative solutions, school-age children are expected to have been negatively affected by this disruption. Against this backdrop, the World Food Program Regional Bureau for Asia and Pacific commissioned Oxford Policy Management to undertake a review of adaptation to on-site food program in order to inform policy making and programming. The COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in unprecedented school closure as well. So in many countries, school feeding program adversely affected children and their well-being. So our recommendation is that government should consider repeated disruption to schooling and associated impact on health and nutrition in that government policy, planning and budgeting, and guidance and support should be provided to local level governments as they cope with repeated school closures, particularly on how to operationalize adequate nutritionally balanced food and engage with local suppliers of food programs. Continue to prioritize investment in as part of multi-sectoral effort to address school health and nutrition. Future financing for school food programs should be ring-fenced and school food included as a key targeted program for primary school age children in nutrition, education, and social protection policies. This is especially important in the aftermath of the pandemic, which has worsened child-level outcomes. Learn valuable lessons from each other in how to better adapt school food program during repeated school closure. Knowledge can be shared more widely through regional platforms such as the Asian and SAARC and participating in initiatives such as the Global School Meals Coalition. Thank you for sparing your time to listen to this talk. So this is from the founder and CEO of Women's World Summit Foundation. So we will move on to the next session. So we have very important speaker in our midst. So the next session will be on malnutrition and immunity and its impact on immunity. So our speaker for this session is Ms. Deepta Nagpal, the founder of Beyond Kilos and Inches, and co-founder of iTiffin. So a clinical dietitian with specialization in chronic disorders and a university double gold medalist, served as diet counselor to late Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, international athletes, senior army officers, and corporate executive leaders. So she will be talking to us about malnutrition and its relevance to the immunity. So over to you, Dr. Deepa Nagpal. A warm welcome to you on behalf of the organizers. Thank you. Dr. Deepa Nagpal. Dr. Deepta, are you available there? I think she has probably some difficulty in joining us. So let's give her some time to figure that out. Until she joins, let's move on to the next session. So the next session is on recent challenges in child protection. So our speaker for this particular session is Mr. Robin David, and he is an advocate and also a human rights activist. Mr. Robin David specializes in civil and commercial dispute resolution. He works extensively on matters relating to corporate laws, mining law, anti-corruption law, competition law, as well as arbitration. He regularly appears before the Supreme Court of India, Delhi High Court, arbitral tribunals, and other forums. He has handled complex commercial and arbitration cases as lead counsel. He has been appointed as amicus curiae by the Supreme Court in several cases. Robin played a key role in drafting the National Highway Fee Determination of Rates and Collection Rules 2008. Robin has been appointed as the arbitrator and rendered several awards on domain disputes. He is a panel arbitrator for the National Internet Exchange of India, the World Intellectual Property Organization, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Nani Palkiwala Arbitration Center, and the Indian Institute of Arbitration and Mediation. He is elected to the Governing Council of Indian Council of Arbitration. He is a panel advocate of the Delhi High Court Legal Services Committee. He provided pro bono services at the Delhi High Court. He has been a speaker in conferences and seminars on civil procedure, arbitration, anti-corruption laws, professional ethics, and human rights. Robin is a member of the Supreme Court Bar Council Association, Delhi High Court Bar Association, International Bar Association, Bar Association of India, Indian Society of International Law, Fellow of Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, American Bar Association, Advocates International, Indian Law Institute, Indian Council of Arbitration, and Fellow of Prime Dispute, UK. He is chairman of the Center of Bioethics, Delhi. Robin holds a degree in physics from Loyola College, Madras, and a Bachelor of Laws degree from Government Law College, Coimbatore. He is a registered foreign lawyer of Singapore International Commercial Court. So friends, the session is on the recent challenges in child protection. So over to Mr. Robin. Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Robin.
Thank you, Mr. Wesley, for the very kind words of introduction. Also, it's indeed a great pleasure to be here. I thank the Women's World Summit Foundation. I thank Udisha. I am also grateful to Mr. Gaur for inviting me to participate in this webinar, which is of great importance. I say great importance because Supreme Court in 1977 and thereafter has said that children are the greatest gift to humanity. Several such decisions have been rendered by the court, and also there is also a line of judgments that say that children are the future of the nation or the country. The courts have held that this is a very important issue, the protection of children, and also
Good morning, ma'am.
Yeah, sorry, participants. I think someone inadvertently ended the meeting. Thank you for rejoining us. We will continue. Let's wait for a minute for the speaker to join us.
Hello.
Mr. Robin, are you there?
Yes. Yes. उसको सुना करो नहीं
Kindly bear with us. I will just wait for a minute for the speaker to join back. Uh, yeah, it's second time it's ended again actually.
Yes,
Now
I'm back.
a few people are joined. Yeah. Uh, Participants have not joined. Only 6. In Facebook. Okay, fine. Okay, great. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we would like to apologize to all our participants for this technical glitch, and we would like to go ahead with this. We hope that you will all be able to see this webinar in the Facebook live. So now again, I would like to request our speaker, Mr. Robin, to take it over and continue with the presentation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Apologies. I think it is there on YouTube Live and Facebook Live. So please do join. Apologies for this. And this is really an example of how technology has affected us post-COVID. In fact, this webinar is being held online because of all the restrictions. And one of the aspects that I was wanting to talk about was how the digital divide has deprived the economically weaker sections because of non-availability of resources, internet, etc. So this is a glaring example of that, and we are also at the wrong end of this glitch. So, like I was saying, the Supreme Court in various cases has said that children are the greatest gift to humanity. And Supreme Court and High Courts at least 50 times have said that children are the greatest gift to humanity. Children are the future of the nation. Children are the future of the country. The constitutional scheme also is uh, in favor of protection of children. We have Article uh, 14, which applies to children and adults and everyone, every citizen of the country. It talks of equality before law and equal protection of law. Then Article 15(3) makes special provisions. It says that the state has power to make special provisions for protection of women and children. I'm very glad to see that there are so many children on this webinar. Articles 21A provide for compulsory education, and Articles 23 and 24 prohibit trafficking of human beings and forced labor. Article 39C and E are special provisions with regard to child labor and against child labor, and also that children are given opportunities and facilities to develop in a healthy manner. Article 47 is also a directive principle where it says that the duty of the state is to raise the level of nutrition and health of the children. Pursuant to this, we have the integrated child development scheme, which provides the meals, midday meals, and Anganwadi scheme since 1975, and also the National Food Security Act 2013. So, as far as India is concerned, we see that the courts and the constitution really give utmost importance to the child. They say that children are the greatest gift to humanity. The Convention of the Rights of the Child, it's a UN convention. It's one of the most important convention on child rights, and it has been ratified by 196 states or 196 countries all over the world. And all these laws, the Indian laws, the national laws of various countries, of the Convention on the Rights of Child, all are guided by certain principles. These principles are One, the best interest of the child. Two, non-discrimination. Three, the right to life, survival, and development of the child. And four, respect for the views of the child. So these four are the paramount important principles of child laws. So if you look at some certain facts, which I will just narrate to you now, and based on these facts, I want you to ask yourself the question after listening to these facts: are children still? Do you still believe that children are the greatest gift to humanity? If so, if they are the gift to humanity, if they are the greatest gift to humanity, every 1 billion children are affected by violence. 1 billion is one followed by 9 zeros, or for the Indian audience, it is 100 crore. 100 crore children are affected by violence every year. Then 50% of the world's children experience violence every year. 50%. That means 1 in 2 children. Every other child experience violence of some form. Then this is also very saddening to see that every 5 minutes, somewhere in the world, a child is killed by violence. Every 5 minutes, somewhere in the world, a child is killed by violence. Another fact is 1 in 10 children is sexually abused before the age of 18. So, if this is so glaringly happening, what is our answer to the question: are children the greatest gift to humanity? If children are the greatest gift to humanity, as our courts have said repeatedly, why is it that 1 billion children, 100 crore children are affected by violence? Why is one child killed every 5 minutes by violence? Also, after COVID, schools were closed, and many of us had the privilege of going online, like we are doing so now. And 100 in 188 countries, schools were closed, and 1 billion children could lose a year or fall behind because of this. A direct impact of the lockdown is that 1% of the school children will definitely fall behind. That is, 463 million children will fall behind because of the lockdown. In India, 286 million children up to the grade of 6 left school in 2020 and 21, according to UNESCO. Only 60% of the children have online access. We are so fortunate to be having this online access, even though we had that glitch. So courts have taken judicial notice of the digital divide. In Delhi, a petition was filed once after COVID happened and when everyone went online. A petition was filed saying that the children belonging to economically weaker sections and disadvantaged groups who do not have access to internet, computer, mobile, laptop should be provided with this. And the court, after hearing various parties and schools, directed that the private unaided schools and government schools must supply gadgets, including an internet package, and then the schools were asked to claim reimbursement from the state. There's another case where after the lockdown was declared in 2020 and the Anganwadi centers were also shut down, the
Sir, kindly unmute yourself. We can't hear you. Robin, sir.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know when that went off. COVID only aggravated the existing vulnerabilities. The increased child marriage incidents are reported across India during pandemic, and many girls will never again return to school. In normal times, the prevalence of girls of getting married before the age of 18 is 27%. The heightened risk of violence in normal times and abuse as a result of confinement within home with no recourse to meet other significant adults outside the home and seek help has increased. Then there was an increased incident of sexual abuse. Then there was the lack of access to child protection services. So the impact of COVID was immense. So if I would put it in three categories, then impact of COVID was people falling into poverty, and many more people will slip into poverty. They could not attend school. There is an increase in the school dropout rate. There is an education and digital divide, which I already alluded to. Almost a third of the world is digitally excluded. There is a threat to child survival and safety. After COVID, the infant mortality substantially reduced. The progress that most nations made in the last 3 years slipped because of the slipped and reduced. Malnutrition increased because of closure of schools and the lockdown. There was a great increase in sexual violence. So there are serious issues that have. So coming to the fact that children are the greatest gift to humanity, like I started off at first, it appears that most nations are not taking adequate care, and this is a real problem of falling into poverty, education, problem of the very threat to survival and safety. So what does one need to do? I put it in.
Yes. Yeah. Deep time.
Yes. What does one need to do? There are three aspects that I would like to point out. One is we have to prioritize. If children are the greatest gift to mankind, then we have to put them at a high priority. We have to take steps to bring children back to school. We have to allocate budget for child protection services. Right now, the budget allocated by India is about 2.5 or less than 3%. We need to provide rehabilitation to school dropouts. We need to find out the most vulnerable people, vulnerable children, and prioritize and take steps and identify their needs and take steps. So the first point, what one needs to do is prioritize. Second is prevention. Identify vulnerable children at risk of child marriage, child labor, and child abuse. Provide social protection services for children who lost their primary caregiver with COVID. Enforce stringent conditions to eliminate child sexual abuse. And, provide online safety and personal safety education in the schools and school curriculum. So after you prioritize, you take prevention steps. So you identify, you provide protection, prevent. Prevention is very important, especially in case of child sexual abuse. Then I did talk about the four principles on which the laws have been laws of child protection are based. The four pillars. First is the best interest of the child. Take into consideration the best interest of the child. Even when you're prioritizing and preventing, take into interest the best interest of the child, take into consideration the best interest of the child. Then non-discrimination, don't discriminate amongst children. India has Article 14. All child laws globally have equality clause in their constitutions and their main documents. Then the right to life, survival, and development of the child is important. The fourth and important aspect is respect the views of the child. So I think sometimes it's important to talk to the child or have the child address their issues. Of course, the most important is this is the best interest of the child, because there are times when the views of the child may not be in his own best interest. So I'd like to just conclude by saying we need to prioritize children. We do call children the greatest gift to humanity. We all say that, we have said that, our courts have said it, we said it in many articles. So you should actually put it into action and prioritize. If they are the greatest gift to humanity, then they should take priority in your budget, in your work, in your education, in the protection. The greatest gifts are protected and guarded. So then take preventive measures, identify the risk factors, the vulnerability, and reinforce the protection and safety measures, and of course follow the best principles. So in conclusion, I will stop with these three P's: prioritize, prevent, and protect the vulnerable children, and follow the principles. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Robin, for this very wonderful session on child protection. And we agree with you the fact that government of India should take more efforts to prevent and also to reinforce the social protection services that are available so that children can be protected in this very difficult and vulnerable time. So thank you once again for your wonderful speech. Friends, now we will move on to the next session. So we have Dr. Deepta Nagpal with us. And so as I introduced earlier, she is the co-founder of Beyond Kilos, founder of Beyond Kilos and Inches, and co-founder of iFitin. More introduction, and she is a clinical dietitian with specialization in chronic disorders and a university double gold medalist. Served as diet counselor to late Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, international athletes, senior army officers, and corporate executive leaders. So over to Dr. Deepa Nagpal. The session is on malnutrition and immunity. Yes. You are muted. We can't hear you. Yes, please. Please. No, not yet. You're inaudible, yeah. No, Rakesh ji, can you just see Dr. Deepa is not audible enough.
Yeah. Fix it, but we'll have to request her only to unmute herself first. I'm trying to contact. Yeah. Even her video was not playing. Now the video is playing.
It's at the bottom left corner.
I'll try and contact her.
Yeah, am I audible now?
Yes, yes. Yes, can hear you loud and clear.
Yes, yes. Just let me. There was some issue, the technical issue from your side. Just a second. Uh, can you see my screen which I have opened?
Yes.
Okay.
You can put on a presentation mode, so it will be audio.
I can just. I'm just trying to change the. Yes. Now I think I will be able to. Okay. I want to say from which. Okay. Okay, so I'm Deepta, like I'm a dietitian and a nutrition educator. First of all, thank you for having me here. And, I feel honored and I appreciate your efforts which you're doing to the society, especially in the time of pandemic. So I would like to talk about malnutrition today. Malnutrition and immunity. These days, malnutrition, it's sad, like the country like we are in India, and we are growing so much of food. We have such a huge and diverse flora and fauna. Still we are we have a lot of malnourished patients, we have a lot of malnourished kids in our society. So malnutrition, basically it's undernutrition and overnutrition and the imbalance of the nutrients. It's not just that, it's a lack of energy or lack of protein. It's also the excess of some nutrients, and sometimes just taking the empty calories. And when I talk about the Western countries, like where I am right now in Europe, taking the empty calories and not considering the micronutrients like selenium, zinc, iron, stuff like that, and then getting into the chronic disorders, which is really really common these days. These days, especially after the pandemic, when I go and I practice, I talk to my co-workers, especially the doctors, what I hear from them is like, Deepta, food is future. Food is future, and food is like a powerful weapon. If we actually use it wisely, we can do wonders with food. But unfortunately, the nutritional awareness is poor in our country. The research on nutrition, the on dietetics, it's not up to the mark if we compare. So today I will discuss how we can take care of the malnutrition, possibly, and what we can do for our immunity. So many patients come to us these days, they are mindlessly popping haldi ki capsules, haldi ka doodh pee rahe hain din raat. They are taking zinc and vitamin C capsules so taki COVID na ho. They are scared of the COVID-19, but actually these things can be really harmful. So we have to understand. I always say ki always use your brain, always use the common sense ki that haldi taking every day, in a form of a supplement, can do harm also, especially to the liver patients, the gallbladder patients. So we have to use the food as weapon to fight against not only pandemic but the chronic disorders, but the so many lifestyle related disorders, so many nutritional deficiencies, hormonal disruptions, autoimmunity all over. We can use food as a weapon, and a very beautiful weapon, and it can do wonders to our health, but we have to use our common sense along with that. I did a session yesterday with a school in Haryana, we about reading food labels. So I would like to discuss that as well. Because I think if we start educating our kids, from initial years, it's really helpful for them. When they are adults, they can make the better choices. So malnutrition, it can be a deficiency of nutrients. As I said, it can be excess of nutrients, and definitely it's an imbalance of the nutrients, as said by WHO and UNICEF. And it can be under and over nutrition. It can do, it can have short-term impact, and it can have very long-term impacts also on our health. Sometimes if we see, it can affect the cognitive development, it can affect the attention, the child is not paying attention in the classroom. It can affect immunity, of course. The child, wo bacha baar baar bimar ho raha hai, the child is getting the infection or the seasonal ailments very rapidly. The child has muscle wasting, lean body mass come here, the growth is impacted, and it's visible in many cases. Anemia, again, especially in the Asian countries, India, the women, not only the kids, but the women who are in the reproductive age are anemic. So many of them. We did a research with the Rajasthan recently how we can use the local food. So in Rajasthan, Gujarat, this area, the anemia is more prevalent, and we can actually, if we spread nutritional awareness, if we educate the society, educate the mass, this can be done through the low cost nutritious foods at home as well. So the main malnutrition are basically, marasmus and kwashiorkor, and nutritional deficiency diseases like scurvy and all. So I will just, explain you a little bit about this. So when we are, in the under nutrition situation, It can affect our height, it can affect our weight, it can affect our nutritional status, the nutritional homeostasis, and growth. Of course, the failure of growth is there. There can be many other symptoms like muscle wasting, sometimes edema in the case of kwashiorkor. So mainly it's marasmus, kwashiorkor, and marasmus, kwashiorkor, the combination. The weight loss, muscle wasting is very common. As I said, the edema, the like accumulation of the fluids in kwashiorkor, and in the combination, it can be, the mix of the symptoms as well. The rapid deterioration of the nutritional status is very common, and it's the wasting of the fat, muscle, and these patients need special attention. And as Mr. Robbins said, we should have more, the government should invest more on the nutritional programs like this, because this is the need of the hour. We are under the category of, the malnourished countries, where the malnutrition is really on the higher state. So same with this kwashiorkor, as I explained, what are the symptoms, edema, accumulation of fluids, and the body is basically looks like swollen arms, hands, etc. And what we can see why these things happen. As I said, we are growing a lot of food. But is that food reaching the mass? No, it is not reaching the mass. And there are many, reasons behind it, and we all know it. There's food insecurity. There's really, the food supply chain is not proper. Either there is no food, scarcity of the food sometimes in distribution, or there is adulteration. When I say adulteration, the quality of the food, the quality of the nutrients nahi hai bilkul bhi. The whole structure needs to be revised, and they should do it really faster and should give a lot of importance to this. It's more in the developing countries, as we know, and sanitation, hygiene is also very important when it comes to immunity. Gut microbiology, I don't know how many of you know, but gut microbiology is something which has revolutionized the medicine, it is such a beautiful science that how these microbes, can actually help us in developing the immunity. 70% of our immunity happens in our gut. So we can actually use the natural sources. We can use so-called superfoods. A celebrated dietitian will come and tell you कि ये खाओ, पूरा हिंदुस्तान वही खाने लग जाता है, especially अगर वो कहीं कैलिफोर्निया से आ रही है बात, या कहीं US से आ रही है, यूरोप से आ रही है. But actually we have so much good foods, even the indigenous foods, जो foods डेजर्ट में लगते हैं, और जो फूड्स आपके अपने जगह पे, हरियाणा, पंजाब, यूपी, फ्रॉम वेयरएवर यू बिलोंग, वी हैव सो मच फूड. बट द थिंग इज देयर इज hardly any nutritional awareness, and we are actually misled by the advertisements on the TV. जो हम देखते हैं, हमें लगता है एक cereal box का जो पैकेट होता है cornflakes का, the mothers get so much attracted by that. Okay, they have added fiber in it, they have added that in, they're misleading you. वही अगर आप बाजरा, दलिया, sprouts घर से बना के अपने बच्चों को दे रहे हो, that is more and more nutritious. We think like, we are, I always say कि we are becoming globalized. We are going to different countries, the people are coming here, but that globalization is invading our kitchen tables. हमारा kitchen table बिल्कुल change हो चुका है. Earlier we used to have, the food was cooked from scratch. Now the food is either imported or coming from the supermarkets, and the supermarkets also those attractive thing, not just fortification and supplementation, which we actually need, but low calorie, low fat, something like no trans fatty acids, everything is natural. So these things are actually, it's a business for them, it's a money spinning industry, and we should use our brain, we should use our common sense when we have to decide what we have to give our kids and what we have to put in our mouth. The food which is coming from the farms is much more natural and better absorption, better assimilation than the foods which is coming from the dabbas. It doesn't have just that processed food, it has a lot of things which go into it for the processing it, a lot of chemicals. And the chemicals, they do not write as such, they write the chemical codes. Those are the hidden chemical codes, E202, E402, which a layman doesn't even know. And if you do a little bit of research, they are really, really harmful. And what they are doing, they are impacting all your body systems. It's not just, nutritional deficiency ho rahi hai. They are impacting your hormones, they are impacting your digestion, they are impacting your endocrine system. They're really, really harmful. So basically, here it is like, in what's happening in the developed countries and what is happening in the developing countries. Right now, a few days back, I read an article in Today, and I was discussing with my business partner that how popular cardiovascular diseases, how popular diabetes, the pre-diabetic condition is becoming in Indian kids. It's not just the malnourished. We are malnourished in a different way. Like, the overnutrition of the calories and the empty calories, and hardly we are getting nutrients. A body को काम करने के लिए, hormones को काम करने के लिए vitamins और minerals चाहिए, जो कि बच्चों के पास नहीं है, because they are eating the packaged foods. The packaged foods is not giving them the nutrition, and parents sometimes feel privileged that we are we are getting them something which is really premium, but that is not premium. That is a hormonal disruptor. That is a disruptor in their growth. That is something will lead to chronic disorders later. Abhi later ka to sawal hi nahi hai. These chronic disorders, these heart ailments, the pre-diabetic conditions, the fatty liver. This is really, really common among the youngsters. 10 साल पहले जब मैं इंडिया में प्रैक्टिस करती थी, that time hypertension, diabetes and all these diseases were very common. Now it's autoimmunity. Every other person, either he has lupus or कुछ नहीं तो cirrhosis है, GERD है, acidity है, IBS है, and these have become really common. The reason is the food supply, lack of nutritional awareness, what we are putting in our mouth. So this can actually affect your immune system, your immunity, endocrine system, your hormones, gastrointestinal system, your gut, the cardiovascular system, respiratory system, and the nervous system, of course. So what you're putting into your mouth is really, really important. Okay, so these things, as Mr. Robin already mentioned, that what we can do, to fight against the nutritional deficiencies or the chronic disorders or the disorders which are more prevalent these days, the supplementations, the program, nutritional awareness programs, the therapeutic care through the experts, the food distribution, taking and providing knowledge to the schools, the Anganwadi programs, and these stuffs can be done at the government end, and whatever we can do from our side. And again, the same thing, the hygiene, sanitation, the infant, pregnancy, lactation, the livelihood support, these are very important things which the government and the other, the organizations should start giving importance to. Okay, now the immunity. I get a lot of inquiries ki, Madam, immunity kaise badhaye? And I have started getting a lot of patients also after this pandemic here and in India, everywhere. Immunity दो तरह की होती है, और immunity ऐसा नहीं है कि बार-बार एक तरह के कैप्सूल खाने से, रोज तुलसी खाने से या रोज हल्दी खाने से आपकी immunity बढ़ जाएगी. Immunity depends upon a lot of factors. One is the innate immunity, which is like the immunity which you can say it's by birth. जैसे हमारी skin, how the skin reacts towards a particular thing, जैसे हमारे tear glands आते हैं एकदम से अगर आंख में कुछ चला जाए. And दूसरी, it's an adaptive immunity. Adaptive immunity takes time to develop in the body. A lot of things go under the cellular level, at the cellular level, at the blood level. So basically, immunity खराब क्यों होती है? When we are not eating good food, when we are stressed. Stress बच्चों को भी होती है, exams की tension, sports की टेंशन, दूसरी टेंशन, immunity खराब toxins से हो सकती है, environmental toxins. It can be through the age also, the poor diet. So I would little bit like to explain you about the gut microbiota. हम जब when we are born with certain set of microorganisms. सबके पास एक good और bad microorganisms होते हैं. and a mix of that depends upon various factors, depend upon your mother health, how happy she was when she was carrying you, where were you staying, were you in Croatia or you were in India or wherever you were staying, आप क्या खाते थे, कितना आपने एंटीबायोटिक्स लिया जब आप छोटे थे, ग्रेड 10th में कितना स्ट्रेस लिया, शादी का कितना स्ट्रेस लिया, how stressed were you when you were having your kids, and these things actually play important role to decide what kind of microorganisms you have. So and when there is a beautiful balance between the good and the bad microorganisms, then we have really good health. It shows on our skin, it shows on our health, on our hair, it shows how we get up, how active we are, it shows on our vitals, our blood glucose level, on our hormonal level, serotonin level, how happy we are. So it's very important to have a balanced or a गुड गट माइक्रोबायोटा एंड डाइवर्स माइक्रोबायोटा. उसके लिए आप क्या कर सकते हो, उसके लिए उससे आपकी इम्यूनिटी भी बढ़ेगी. इफ यू विल हैव अ डाइवर्स माइक्रोबायोटा इन योर बॉडी, यू विल हैव रियली नाइस इम्यूनिटी, एंड व्हाट यू कैन डू फॉर दैट आई विल एक्सप्लेन you today here. And avoid packaged foods, because I know there are a lot of kids here, a lot of parents here, so I would like to discuss this more rather than discussing what government can do, because that government has to do what I can do for you right now. So that I would like to discuss. So I would conclude my session here with this thing, that what you can do for your immunity, for the nutritional deficiencies, to prevent the chronic disorders. I will repeat again, food is a very powerful weapon. Food को use करो, regional चीजें खाओ, seasonal चीजें खाओ, fresh चीजें खाओ. जितनी ज्यादा खाओगे उतनी आपकी इम्यूनिटी बढ़ेगी, उतना आपका न्यूट्रिशनल डेफिशिएंसीज नहीं होंगी. आपको पैकेज्ड फूड्स को अवॉइड करो. मेक योरसेल्फ एंड योर किड्स स्मार्ट इनफ दैट दे कैन रीड द पैकेट्स. जब आप बाजार जाते हो, डोंट फॉल प्रे की दिस इज समथिंग. एग्जांपल देती हूँ, मल्टीग्रेन ब्रेड. वी ऑल वांट मल्टीग्रेन ब्रेड खानी है या ब्राउन ब्रेड खानी है, मैदे की ब्रेड नहीं खानी, सबको पता, और सब ऐसा करते हैं. आपने कभी उसके इंग्रेडिएंट्स पढ़े? उसके मल्टीग्रेन की जो ब्रेड के पीछे अगर आप इंग्रेडिएंट्स पढ़ोगे तो उसमें पोटाशियम आयोडाइड होता है, वेरी हार्मफुल. दूसरा, उस ब्रेड के अंदर 80% मैदा होता है और 20% उन्होंने मल्टीग्रेन डाला होता है मिक्स करके. एंड वी फॉल प्रे, हम वो 100% मल्टीग्रेन नहीं होता. वही अगर रोटी मक्की की है या बाजरा की है और मिक्स्ड ग्रेन की है जो आप अपने घर में बना रहे हो, उसका कुछ कंपैरिजन ही नहीं है न्यूट्रिशन वाइज, एब्जॉर्प्शन वाइज, एसिमिलेशन वाइज. जो वो आपके लिए करेगा वो ब्रेड और वो जो रोटी, या फिर इवन यू कैन बेक ब्रेड्स एट होम. आई डू बेक सार्डो फॉर माय किड्स, बट from scratch. Cooking from scratch is very, very, very important. Exercise करो, बच्चों को खेलने के लिए encourage करो. There are hardly kids when I get patients who are kids, especially the girls 14-15 years, come to me for this PCOD, thyroid issues, periods issues, menstruation issues, acne issues. They are not doing any kind of a sport, and this is main problem in Indian countries. I know the reasons. Okay, I will not discuss them here, but as a parent, as a teacher, I am requesting you, बच्चों को आधा पौना घंटा, पेंडेमिक टाइम है तो घर में यूट्यूब चला के कोई डांस करवाओ, कोई स्पोर्ट्स में डालो, उनके साथ भागने जाओ, साइकिलिंग करवाओ. इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. और वो सिर्फ वजन के लिए नहीं होता इंपॉर्टेंट, इट्स इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर द हार्मोन्स, इट्स इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर द सेरोटोनिन डेवलपमेंट. इट्स इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर द डोपामिन. वो खुश रहते हैं, वो स्ट्रेस फ्री रहते हैं, बेटर एब्जॉर्प्शन होती है न्यूट्रिएंट्स की व्हेन द बॉडी इज हैप्पी. माइंडफुली खाना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. आप एक अपने बच्चे को बर्गर दे दो, जो बहुत फेमस बर्गर है इंडिया में, और एक रोटी दे दो, उसको वो च्यू कर. व्हेन यू विल ईट दैट बर्गर, आपको स्ट्रेट अवे यहाँ पे जब आप बर्गर को खा रहे हो ना, आपको उसको च्यू करने की जरूरत नहीं है. यू विल फील द टेस्ट बिकॉज दे आर एडिंग एडिटिव्स इन इट. They're adding a lot of additives in it that which you don't even have to chew to अच्छा सा अरोमा फ्लेवर आता है आपको. बट वही अगर आप घर में दाल चावल रोटी सब्जी खा रहे हो, यू हैव टू chew it at least 15-20 times for the salivary amylase to get in and to sink in, और फिर वो आपको actually it's science, और फिर वो आपको टेस्ट देगा. And people fail to do that. When I tell my patients, you have to chew your food, and they say, Deepta, this is so boring. And because it's like a meditation. हमने एक experiment कराया था, like I'm a teacher here, so हमने यहाँ college में एक experiment कराया था. We asked the girls to go to the canteen and see how many times these students and the teachers are chewing the food. And the average was 4 to 6 times. We are as a society, even myself, I have my kids, I have to go to a clinic, I have to go to teach, okay, I have to run here and there after my kids, काम करना है, patient से call लेनी है, मैं खुद भूल जाती हूँ, but that's the biggest mistake, you know, we are hardly chewing the food, खाना मुंह में chew ही नहीं करोगे, तो वो जाके कैसे absorb होगा, कैसे assimilate होगा, कैसे वो nutrients देगा, वो undigested food रह जाएगा, and फिर मोटापा भी आता है, गैस भी होती है, bloating भी होती है, so these are very simple things, chewing the food, sleeping well, eating mindfully, you know, आराम से उसको खाओ, chew करके खाओ, बिना टीवी के खाओ, but ये करता कोई नहीं है. मैं भी आज बोलकर चली जाऊंगी, आप भी सुन रहे हो, सेशन खत्म हो जाएगा, but actually if we start, you know, applying these things, थोड़ी थोड़ी ये बातें हम इनको अपनी डेली लाइफ में यूज करना शुरू करें तो they are really really helpful. आधी बीमारियां ऐसे ही कम हो जाएंगी. And now I would like to conclude, you know, it's not just apple a day which keeps a doctor away. It's basically, you know, the healthy diet, the food cooked from scratch, the food cooked with love, the food which is coming from the farms will keep you, you know, will prevent the diseases and keep you healthy. And that's it. And if you have any questions, you can ask me.
Yes, thank you, Doctor. So, participants, you are welcome to post your questions if you have anything to ask from Dr. Deepti.
I see 3 people have raised their hands.
You can ask me, like.
Okay, so if you want to post your questions in the chat box, you are welcome to do so, and we will try to answer if time permits. So once again, would like to thank Dr. Deepta Nagpal for taking us through this very wonderful session. Thank you so much, and reminding us to go back to our nature, to go back to our basics and tradition, and also to warn us, for warning us that the business greed and corporate greed and business can endanger the food security and the health of our children. So thank you so much, Dr. Deepta. So we will move forward. Our next session is on eating smart, mindful eating for body and brain. So we have so many children participating. This is basically about children and their nutrition and their protection. So children, you are very welcome. And we are going to address some of the very immediate concerns of children, that is eating smart, mindful eating for body and brain. So our speaker for this session is Dr. Bani Tamber Airy, Associate Professor of Institute of Home Economics and Delhi University. So welcome you, ma'am, on behalf of the organizers of this webinar. So over to Dr. Bani.
Thank you very much. A very good afternoon to everybody. I hope I'm audible. Right. Thank you. So it's indeed an honor to be here, and I appreciate the effort made by the organizers. And very interesting conversations have already begun, and there is information which is being provided to all. So I expect all students to listen and probably assimilate a few messages. It's you know, because nutrition is something which is related to our life completely. I mean, it's not a classroom kind of a textbook kind of knowledge which we are trying to accumulate here. So I'll start off. I will start sharing my screen. I'm going to try and move my slides. I hope the slides move, because if they don't, then I'll request the organizers to present. So just give me a minute, please. Is this visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And now?
Yeah.
And the slides are moving?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. So in the course of this presentation, we'll try and answer some very basic questions. Why do we need to eat smart? How can I eat smart? Can what I eat affect my mood? And finally, and most importantly, does healthy eating mean giving up on my favorite foods? Okay, so the previous speakers have highlighted that we are undergoing transition. On one hand, we have undernutrition, and the other hand, we have overnutrition. There are two aspects of malnutrition. Not going into the data, but we still have many children who are underweight as far as anemia is concerned. Children in early adolescence, late adolescence, still there are many, like 1 in 2 girls, 1 in 5 boys is anemic. We also talk about other problems like vitamin D deficiency, and I want all the young listeners to hold on to this thought about vitamin D deficiency because we will come to it a little later. And we see that the vitamin deficiency is more in girls, it's 3 times more in girls than boys. And the main reason is we are not exposing ourselves to sun. And we will talk about vitamin D deficiency a bit later. Of course, there is also other micronutrient malnutrition which is present. Now, the other aspect of malnutrition, as was mentioned by Ms. Deepta, was being overweight and obese. And this is data which was gathered from children. And it was found that although, like you see, about 5% of our children are overweight and obese, but look at Delhi here, we are around 12% of our children are overweight and obese. And it's not just a cosmetic problem. It's not just I'm not looking good because I'm overweight or I'm not fitting into my dresses. But being overweight and obese has certain other problems, like what was mentioned about being, having high blood glucose, high blood pressure, and having all the wrong type of fat parameters raised. And this is not supposed to happen in children at all. In fact, it is now seen that 1 in 2 adolescents have at least one such risk factor. And this is quite alarming. We don't want that to happen to our children. Are my slides moving, please? Hello?
Yeah, they're moving.
Okay.
They're moving.
Fine. Now, the other aspect which is very important is being overweight is also associated with mental health. Now, this is data which we carried out, which the study we carried out at our institute. And we found, and this was done in public school children, and we found that adolescents, when they were beyond the normal weight category, so those who were underweight or those who were overweight, they had problems of depression and anxiety. Now, this is a cause of concern because one feels that, okay, it is just a weight issue or a physical aspect, but it's related to what we eat. And also, it also tarnishes what we call the body image of an adolescent. We don't want that to happen to our children as well. There are several reasons behind malnutrition, and we're not talking about these in detail, but the most important is lack of knowledge. When we talk of overnutrition, and this is what we will be emphasizing on, there are certain factors we can't change the factors, like we can't change the genes we are born with. But then there are so many things which we have in our hands which we can change. I don't expect our children to start smoking and be addicted to alcohol in any case. So a warning sign, do not get into this. We are increasingly becoming sedentary, especially for the 1.5 year we have been in front of our screens. And given a chance, we'll rather hop into a lift, rather run up a flight of stairs. And this is true for even youngsters. We are exposed to stress, but most importantly, our nutrition is going wrong. And this is what we will talk about in detail. So as was mentioned, that knowledge about nutrition can be used as a very important and a very effective tool to manage the problem of malnutrition. So I've listed out what we call the power of 10 smart strategies, which we can easily do, which children can easily do to overcome the problem of malnutrition, or rather overnutrition. The first one is to maintain a healthy weight. Now, nobody is saying become thin. Maintaining a healthy weight, and there's a huge range that you have to be in the normal range. And why is that? Because as it is, we in South Asians, Indians, have a higher percentage of body fat. The higher the percentage of body fat in us, the more is the chance of developing other chronic degenerative disorders later on in life. So what do? Check your weight, measure your height, find out your BMI. Of course, these are data as per, this is for adults. And if you see for adults also, for being in the normal category, while the WHO says up to 25 is fine, but for Asian Indians, it is reduced to 23. The reason being that we anyway have a higher predisposition to develop high amount of fat in our body. For children up to 19 years, what the WHO has come up with are growth charts, and you can easily access these growth charts online. And there are percentiles which are given. So if you are within a big range of 5th to 85th percentile, and the weight is given in those charts, then you are in the normal range. So you don't have to be the exact weight what you want to. There's a huge range, but don't be below that, because then you'll be undernourished. Don't be above that, because then you will be overnourished. We have to be in the normal range. You can even check your waist circumference, especially the adolescent boys and girls who are listening can check your waist circumference. For boys, it should be less than 90 centimeters, and for girls, it should be less than 80 centimeters, because it would indicate that you may have abdominal obesity, and which is not a very good sign. The second smart strategy is to consume a balanced diet. Now, one would wonder, it's a very common thing, and then, why list it out as a strategy? It's a strategy because we are moving away from a balanced diet. Now, if you look at the traditional Indian thali, if you take, say, dal or sabzi or chapati, rice, some raita, or have lassi or have fruits at the end of the day, that's a balanced diet itself. But we are moving away for it. We are moving towards a more westernized way of consuming foods. And therefore, it's important for us to be reminded again and again that we need to consume a balanced diet. A balanced diet basically means consuming food from different food groups. The third smart strategy is dietary diversification. Now, just to briefly explain what's the difference between a balanced diet and a diversified diet, it is simply, for example, if I'm consuming, say, rajma and aloo gobi sabzi with rice or chapati every day, because that's my favorite food. I want to consume rajma every day, and I want to consume, say, aloo gobi every day. It is a balanced diet because I'm taking food from various food groups, but is it diversified? No, because I'm not consuming other vegetables which are available. I'm not consuming other pulses which are available. So I'm not diversifying my diet. So I need to diversify my diet, meaning that I need to take in foods from different types of foods to be added in my balanced meal. And the reason behind this is that never will there will be any one single micronutrient malnutrition or deficiency. See, if I am iron deficient and I have iron deficiency anemia, I may be deficient in proteins, I may be deficient in B complex vitamins, I may even be deficient in vitamin C. So when I'm consuming foods from different food groups and different types of foods, then I'm ensuring that my internal balance of these micronutrients is managed well, and I'm devoid of any deficiency, and I'm becoming immune to disease. Now, again, in this data, you don't need to go into the details of it, but what you see is when you see green, that means cereals and is being consumed in adequate amounts. But when you see red, and these red foods, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, basically they are fresh foods, they are green leafy vegetables, other vegetables, fruits, roots and tubers. So our children are consuming less amounts of these fresh fruits and vegetables, which are basically a powerhouse of nutrients. There are several challenges to dietary diversity. Of course, if there is no access, if it's not available, I cannot afford it. But most importantly, I'm not aware of it. And this is what was emphasized in the previous discussion also, that you don't have to buy exotic foods, you don't have to buy expensive foods. Foods which are seasonal are the most nutritious. Foods which are the cheapest perhaps are the most nutritious. So go ahead, and there's a lot of oranges and quinoas available in this season. Go ahead and consume lots of it because it's going to give you a lot of nutrition, right? The fourth power strategy is to manage fat intake. Now, many a times youngsters are very conscious of the fat they're consuming, or on the other hand, they're totally not conscious and they're consuming very high fatty foods. What is important for us to realize is that fat is a very important component of our diet. It gives us essential energy which is needed for the body to run its functions, but we have to consume it in the right amounts. Now, what is the right amount? For children up to 19 years of age, or rather 18 years of age, at least 7 to 8 teaspoons of fat should be consumed in a day. Now, these could be in the form of butter, ghee, oils, mustard oil. Have a sort of a fistful, a little amount of nuts on a daily basis, could be walnuts or cashew nuts or almonds or even peanuts, because these nuts will give you the very essential omega-3 fats, which are very good for the brain. We'll discuss this again later. Then what is important is that we also remove trans fat. Now, what is trans fat? To briefly tell you, these are what we call the very bad fats, found very in small amounts naturally, but found in processed foods. And these are responsible for heart disease. So what we have to avoid is all the tasty foods that you can think of, all the samosas and matris and bhaturas and all forms of bhujiyas and namkeens are very high in trans fat, and let's avoid that. The reason is the repeated frying which is being done. In fact, at home also, if you see your mothers or the person who cooks your food cooking in the same oil repeatedly, please tell them that is going to be very high in trans fat. So use a small kadai, finish off that oil, and use fresh oil for frying again. So even bakery foods are very high in trans fat. So the naan khatais and the bakery biscuits, certain pastries and cakes are going to be high in trans fat. So it's not that you stop taking them, but become conscious and reduce the amount in which you're consuming them. Now, moving ahead, the sixth strategy is to restrict sugar intake. It has been specified by the previous speaker as well that sugar is a refined food. There is, in fact, as per the Indian guidelines, the latest Indian guidelines, there is no recommended allowance for sugar being provided. They say we don't need sugar. It is a synthetic food. We don't need it. Yes, we need glucose, which we can easily get from carbohydrates, and we can take healthy carbohydrates to provide glucose needed to perform the body functions. So we need to control the sweet craving. Now Diwali has just gone by and we have all gorged in mithais. Of course, that is also important. But what is visibly sweet is sweet definitely. But then sugar is also available in hidden sources. Much of the sugar which we consume usually is in the hidden sources. For example, if you consume, if you drink a can of a sugar sweetened beverage, you've taken in about 8 to 10 teaspoons of sugar, and we really don't need that. We don't even realize that. 1 tablespoon of tomato ketchup will have at least 1 teaspoon of sugar in it. So we need to become very watchful of this. Along with sugar, the other thing which is important is salt intake. We are allowed to take only 1 teaspoon of salt in one day. And that's not just the salt or the namak in the khana, but it is salt from the pickles, the papers, the chutneys, the preservatives which we are consuming. And all this is adding to the salt content. Now, why I'm emphasizing here is that because both sugar and salt are acquired tastes, we are not born with high thresholds of sugar and salt. We acquire it over our years. And the earlier we check ourselves, the better it is. So all our young listeners, try to consciously reduce the sugar and salt in your diets, and slowly you will realize that you really don't need very high amounts of salt and sugar. Ms. Deepta mentioned you need to start reading food labels. Now, this is a very smart idea. I agree with her completely. Because these nutrition labels, these food labels provide a wealth of information. It's not just reading ingredients or reading the expiry date, but there is a lot of nutrition information available. In fact, it's available per 100 grams. It is available per serving size. They even give you the percentage of nutrient that food is contributing for the daily value. So you need to watch out that if that particular processed food is providing something, say less than 5%, that means it is less in that nutrient. If it is providing more than 20%, it is high in that nutrient. So what do we want less? We want less fat, we want less sugar, we want less salt. What do we want more? We want more proteins, we want more vitamin A, we want more vitamin D, so on and so forth. So become smart, start reading food labels. It will give you a lot of information, and you are all very smart children. Start making informed choices. Figure out whether I want this or not and learn to say no. So in fact, several ideas have been put forth, and if you see, there are these things like the smart traffic signal labels, and if there is something which is seen in red, like if I see here that the sugar is high, I may choose not to consume it, right? Of course, tobacco cessation and moderating alcohol is a smart idea, and let's not get into it at all. Physical activity is very, very important. It has been emphasized by the previous speaker as well, because not only will it give you all forms of benefit in terms of physical strength and muscle, etc. It's going to manage stress. It is going to relieve a lot of tension. And how much of physical activity we need? We don't need much. 30 minutes of physical activity, minimum 30 minutes of physical activity, 5 days a week is more than enough. You can easily go ahead and do that. I understand there is pandemic time, there was restrictions, but there is a lot which can be done at home. Because physical activity will increase your heart rate, it will pump more oxygen to your body parts, including the brain. Endorphins, which are chemicals which are released by the brain, they'll make you feel happy, make you feel satisfied, you will concentrate more in your studies, you will be pleasant towards others, you will generally have a positive outlook towards life. So do it today and you'll feel the difference in your life. Now we move on to eating smart for the brain. Can what you eat affect your moods? Now, there is a lot of information which is available and several reviews have been done which show that if you're eating healthy diets, which includes fresh fruits, leafy vegetables, good fats, it has a positive impact on mental health and vice versa. And the reason is, I'll just briefly explain, because the brain is actually like a chemical factory. It's producing a lot of chemicals, and we call these chemicals neurotransmitters. And these neurotransmitters basically relay messages. The raw material for the manufacture of these neurotransmitters are nutrients. You provide good nutrients, we will have an ample supply or the right amount of neurotransmitters. If you do not supply the raw material, these neurotransmitters will not be formed. So what are these neurotransmitters? They are chemical messages, as I said, and they transfer messages from the nerve cells to the target cells, whatever be the target cell. You may have heard of dopamine, which is basically the which is released when there is we want to experience pleasure or a reward. When you do something, when you feel happy, dopamine is released. And it is seen that people who have low levels of dopamine have a tendency to be depressed or sad or feeling low or anxious. Now, talking about dopamine, the raw material for dopamine, for that matter, even serotonin, which is the happy, are amino acids. Now, amino acids are basically the building blocks or the end products of protein. You would have done it in your science classes. So these amino acids will end up through several biochemical processes in making the neurotransmitters. So if you do not have the material needed for the manufacture of these neurotransmitters, there is bound to be mood disruption. So protein is a very important component, not just for the muscle, not just for growth, but for the brain as well, because it is going to directly affect the mood. It is going to affect how I'm feeling. Similarly, carbohydrates are important. Now, carbohydrates will provide you glucose, and glucose which is needed by the brain. Many times you would have experienced that if you miss a meal or if you're fasting, at the end of the day, you feel you have a dull headache, you're very irritable, you snap at your parents, you snap at your siblings, and you realize, "Aaj maine khana hi nahi khaya." So if that's basically your sugar level falling down and your body telling you that you need energy. So what you eat is definitely related to your mood. I'm talking about glucose or sugar, so to say. So it's not that you need sugar, you need glucose, and getting it from the wrong source if it is from sugar. Because it has been seen sugar is as addictive as cocaine. Meaning that you need to keep eating more amounts of sugar to give the same amount of happiness who did not consume in adequate amounts. Clearly linking protein with mental health. So you have to eat smart for your moods as well. So omega-3 fats are needed, maybe fish eaters, if not, then omega-3 is available in ample amounts in green leafy vegetables, in nuts, and you can whole grains, and you can start consuming these to give you a healthy nervous system. B vitamins are very important to uplift your mood, even for that matter. Now, coming back to vitamin D, we discussed that there is a problem with vitamin D deficiency in the country, which are seasonal. Lentils, legumes, some nuts, meat if you're meat eaters, fish if you're fish eaters, eggs if you want to, and restrict the intake of processed foods. So coming on to the last part, does it mean that I need to give up on my favorite foods. No, of course not. It doesn't mean that. What you need to do is become mindful eaters. Follow the middle path. It's not just just cutting the total calories which matter. It is balancing out the calories from various sources of foods which you are consuming. Any form of processed food or junk food will have additives, it will have chemicals, it will be high in calories, but it will be low in nutrients. So balance it out. The previous speaker also mentioned about these processed foods being harmful for the gut, the good bacteria which we have in our intestines. And these bacteria, in fact, have been shown to be communicating to the brain as well. So if you have to be alert, these processed foods are going to decimate or reduce these good bacteria in our intestines. So avoid processed foods completely. You can start by systematically reducing the amount of processed foods you consume. You must be familiar with the Rajkumar Rao campaign about Aaj se thoda kam. You start decreasing in little amounts. Nobody is saying eliminate it completely, because food does give you a lot of pleasure. It has sort of, that psychological aspects associated with it. But become mindful eaters is what we say. Choose healthy foods. Choose foods which are more natural rather than, which are straight out of a packet. The previous speaker also mentioned cooking food at home. Indulge in that. It's an activity which is going to give you a lot of pleasure, and you will get to know that so much is done for making that food, and that food is going to give you so much good nutrition. Behavioral change is very important. It's important that our children become aware of these problems, because the problems, I would say, of this extra input in terms of advertisements, media, peer pressure, which is there. So to conclude, I would say that we need to invest in good health of our children. Environmental factors such as availability and consumption of junk food, lack of outdoor activity, increased screen time, and more stress needs to be monitored. And a protective diet is one which is going to give you healthy body weight, but good mental health as well. A balanced lifestyle is what is needed. And I'd like to end with this. Thank you very much. And I'm open for any questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bani, for this very wonderful session on eating smart. Participants, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. We can take 1 or 2 questions at the most. Anyone would like to ask the question? Children, do you have any questions? Okay, so if not, we are running short of time, so let's move ahead. So thank you, Dr. Bani, for taking us through a very wonderful session on balanced diet, diversified diet, the importance of managing our diet and being mindful eater. That's the most important aspect that I have learned from your session today. That is how we can become a mindful eater, so that we know what we actually eat and what is the most healthiest of food that we eat. So thank you very much. And also you reminded us of the fact that healthy food need not be an expensive one. Even the cheapest one which is available in the market, the natural one, can be the most nutritious food that we can have. So thank you for all of this wonderful information and the knowledge that you have shared with us. Let's move forward. And so we have another one more session to go. That is the last session. This session is going to be about it's going to be about eating right. So we heard about eating smart. So now we are going to listen to a session on eating right. A secret to healthy future lies in your plate. So how can we eat right? So we have our speaker, Dr. Joshita Lambasaini, nutrition consultant from the Food Fortification Resource Center. So can I have Dr. Joshita on board, please? Dr. Joshita? She checked in. Yeah, yes, Dr. Joshita. Welcome on behalf of the organizers of this webinar. So over to you. Thank you.
She is muted. I think you will have to make her a
Yeah,
co-host. Okay, there you
now
go.
I am a co-host, so I can unmute now. Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
So good afternoon, everyone, and a very good session. I must congratulate Mount Abu School and Udisha Foundation from Deepta Nagpal ma'am and Bani ma'am on malnutrition and overnutrition. So we know that these are the problems and how to deal with it. I'll focus on simple tips which you can do, which can adopt in your daily life to ensure that you have a healthy lifestyle and you are free from any disease and there's no malnutrition or overnutrition or other micronutrient deficiencies. So if you can play my presentation, please.
Yeah, please
Initially,
share. We are not able to see. Can you share your screen and presentation?
so I have shared my presentation here.
Okay, yeah, it's coming up. Yes.
So can we move to the next slide, please? What are the components of healthy lifestyle? We know that food is a very, very important component, and good nutrition is part of that. Then next we move on to regular physical activity. We are eating right, but we are not doing any physical activity, then that affects our lifestyle. Ensuring food safety. Whatever we are eating is safe. We are eating healthy diet, balanced diet, but that is not prepared in a safe manner, and we are not following personal environmental hygiene. So these things affect our healthy lifestyle. Adequate sleep. Sleep is very important. 8 hours sleep is very, very important, and optimal water intake. So these are the key parameters I will focus on during today's presentation. Next slide, please. We all know why we need food to stay alive, be active, move and work, build our new cells, as discussed by previous speakers also. So we need food for our day-to-day activities, and besides that, our own personal things like your hair, your nail growth. If you are having any infection, your body fights with that infection. So there are different components in your food only that helps doing these functions. Next slide, please. So what we, if we don't eat right? So what is eating right? Having a balanced diet, as discussed by previous speakers. And but if we are not eating right, eating too less, then it is moving into undernutrition, malnutrition. Then eating too much, it results in overnutrition. We are eating a balanced diet, like we are eating all the new food groups, but of one particular food group only. We are not consuming fruits and vegetables on daily basis. We are not consuming nuts and oil seeds like your almonds, cashew nuts. You are not consuming that on regular basis. That can lead to micronutrient deficiencies. Next slide, please. What are the problems currently we are seeing in children? Deliberate reduction in food consumption. You are focusing on your health status in terms of what you want your body to be, not what your body requires. So you are reducing food, your food consumption. Like आपको एक actor की तरह देखना है or a sports person की तरह, then uh, you have to listen to your body, what it needs. So that is very, very important. Missing breakfast. This is one of the most important thing we are seeing. We have done surveys, we are doing research, and we have seen that mostly children are missing breakfast. And now you are studying from home. You tend to miss breakfast because you are getting up little late and just starting with your classes without having anything. So that is very, very important that just it takes just 15 minutes. आप जल्दी उठिए, have your breakfast, then start your day. Otherwise आपको भूख, you are attending a class, आपको भूख लग रही है. So what you will do? You are missing your class also, और भूख भी लग रही है, you're going and having something. So make a routine. So अभी भी आप, you are at home, but it's a school routine only. So wake up at the time when you are going to school, same time to uठो, have your breakfast and have all your meals. So follow a routine. The consumption of foods high in fat, sugar and salt. तो भूख लग रही है, आपने breakfast नहीं किया, you grab a packet of chips. So that should not be done. These are some of the key things or tips you can follow. Follow your normal routine which you were following when you were going to school. Absence of fruits and vegetables and pulses. And कभी घर में खाना बना है, pulses बनी है, तो you tend to order from outside कि चलो Zomato कर लेते हैं. I don't want to eat that vegetable. आज green vegetable बनी है, I don't want to eat that. Let's do online ordering. So you have to avoid that to ensure that you have a healthy lifestyle. So factors as discussed by previous speakers also, like advertisement, peer pressure. These are the factors that is making eating habits a little different from now. Next, please. So what to consume for maintaining our health? Next slide, please. As discussed by previous speakers, these are the three key food groups, like they're energy-giving foods, which gives us carbohydrates and fats like grains, oil, fat, sweet, then bodybuilding food, pulses, nuts, seeds, dairy products, meat, poultry, fish, egg. Then we have a protective foods. These we often tend to miss, but are very, very important, like they provide vitamins and minerals, which help, like your vegetables and fruits. So include all these in your diet. Next slide, please. So now you know what to consume, but how much to consume? Who will tell us that how much each food group should be consumed? For that, we have a My Plate as shown by Vani ma'am, and we also have a food pyramid, which shows, next slide, please. Which shows us like what is important, what are the energy giving foods, how much to eat. So you can see that for cereals, you have 6 to 11 servings, then vegetables and fruits, 3 to 5 servings. Meat, poultry, you have 2 to 3 servings, then oil, ghee, butter. That should be consumed, but in moderation. And besides that, following this food pyramid, you have to follow physical activity and also ensure adequate intake of water. So water should also be part of your diet plan. That you should not forget that you have to drink water or take fluids in between, and if you forget, you can make a planner that after every 30 minutes drink some water. Next slide, please. Keep yourself hydrated. Adequate intake of water every day is very, very important. Avoid consumption of carbohydrate drinks, carbonated drinks. Switch to healthy options like buttermilk, lemonade, coconut. Make these drinks at home only. So you can innovate and make healthy drinks at home. Next slide, please. So as you are aware, I think Mount Abu School is also one of the Eat Right schools under the Eat Right India campaign, and you can see the logo. So have you seen this logo in your school? You can message in the chat box. Yes. Has anyone seen, any student has seen this logo in your school area?
Sure.
So students can message in the group.
Yeah. Children, do you have any questions? Please message in the chat box.
I just want to know yes or no. Have you seen this logo in your school? No. So your school is one of the key Eat Right schools under the initiative. So you can see this logo. This is in the form of a plate, and each color depicts each food group. And what is the quantity you have to consume? That depends on the size of that color. You can see that cereals and pulses is in yellow, fruits and vegetables in green, fish and poultry brown, milk and milk products blue, And there's a blue inside that is for plenty of water, and a tick that yes, I'm eating this diet and I'll be healthy. Next slide, please. So tip 1, how we can ensure that we are eating right. Next slide. So we should include go, grow, glow foods in our diet. So what are these go, grow and glow foods? We will learn through a video that what are these foods. Next slide, please. So if you can play the video. Audio is not there.
Ma'am, just give me a moment.
No problem. So at FSSA, we are promoting eating right, and Eat Right School is one of the key initiative. And you have seen Yellow Book 1, Yellow Book 2, and these videos are also available online. So you can download, you can circulate, and there are two interesting games also, Nutri Coach, which can be downloaded on your mobile, and you can play and learn about what is healthy eating through these games.
Ma'am, shall I play it?
Yes, please. I think there's some audio issue. You can play the video. I'll just translate what is happening.
Okay, ma'am.
So as you can see, there are two characters. They are talking about what is go, grow, and glow food. One is having only bread butter. One is roti and sabji. So do you feel that this food is complete? Shruti, you want me to play the video? If you...
Yes, ma'am. Shall I play it?
Okay. So what is go? Go is foods that give us energy, like our carbohydrates, and glow is your vegetables, fruits and vegetables, which give us glow. Then grow, which helps us growing our protein. So whenever we are consuming any food in our diet or any platter you're having, anything like for breakfast, lunch or dinner, your thali should be complete. It should have all these three food groups in your plate. So as you can see, the go foods are your cereals, then carbohydrates are proteins are grow fruits, and vitamins and minerals. I have shared the links of all the videos with you in the chat box. You can play and learn about what is Go, Grow and Glow foods. So let's see a thali. So we have bread butter and it's incomplete because it has Go foods, but it doesn't have Glow and Grow foods. So how we can add that? We can add vegetables in our sandwich. Then we can have paneer, egg, pulses. You can add anything for Grow foods. So that will be complete. We have sabji and roti. So it has Go and Glow foods. But how we can add Grow? We can add lassi, curd or any pulses to complete that dish. So whenever you are consuming anything, Shruti, you can stop the video and we can go back to the presentation. So whenever we are consuming any meal, like for lunch, dinner, breakfast, ensure that all these foods are in your plate to make them complete. And it's not like you should never have burgers or pizzas or any fried food like chole bhature. Have that, but in moderation and occasionally. So and compensate. If you're having a burger in your lunch, then compensate that in your dinner. Have some high fiber food. Have fruits and vegetables. Have salads, and that can compensate. That should be on occasion and on special occasions. It should not be on regular basis. You can see a chicken biryani, how we can complete that. We can add raita, salad and complete that dish. Shruti, you can stop the video, please. You can play the presentation. Now we have learned that how we can complete our thali. The next step is to reduce food high in fat, sugar and salt. We should not eliminate, but we need to reduce that. Next slide, please. So I think the video will not, there's no sound of the video. I have shared the links. You can download and play. It's available on YouTube. And there are many more videos available on video library of FSSAI, where you can learn from celebrities that what they are following and for healthy lifestyle. Next slide, please. So how we can reduce fat in our diet? So you can use foods like baked food, grilled food, steamed food instead of fried food. You are having any idli, that is better than having a fried vada. So you can weigh the foods and which is more healthier option, you choose that. Then snack smart. If you are snacking, making any snack, prefer to use fresh foods. Then gradually reduce your intake of fat, salt and sugar. So you are having, suppose 1 teaspoon of sugar, gradually reduce that to half, and that can be maintained. So if you're having too much of sweets, chocolates, slowly. So similarly for sugar, for salt, how you can, if you're feeling you want something sweet, have a bowl of fresh fruits. That will also give you equal amount of sweetness and taste. If you want to consume some drink, prefer natural drinks like coconut water, lemonade, and avoid carbonated beverages. Next slide, please. So 7-day tips, how to reduce your salt. You can use these tips, you can share these tips with your parents and circulate that in your groups also, that these are the ways. And I'm sure that you have also participated in the poster making competition of FSSAI under Eat Right India initiative. And you know that, yes, it is very, very important that we have to follow these tips and to ensure a healthy lifestyle. Next slide, please. So tip 3, we know that nowadays immunity is very, very important. We have to be very immune seeing this COVID situation. So how to get this immunity? So all this lies in your food only. So whatever you are eating, have a balanced diet, which will ensure that you have a good immune system to perform better functions, such as foods that are rich in protein, zinc, folate, iron, copper, vitamin A, C. So all these foods which you are normally consuming, a balanced diet, a fresh diet will provide you immunity as well. Next slide, please. So as you can see, what are the options for zinc, vitamin C rich foods, vitamin A. So these are the examples, and you all are aware, and all this is available in your yellow books also, which you are following. Next slide, please. So besides these, you have to include water also, plain water, coconut water. So keep yourself hydrated and include prebiotics and probiotics, natural foods that are available in your diet. So for probiotics, you can have curd also, and anything like onion, garlic, they act as prebiotics. This will provide you a better immune system. So immunity is very, very important to fight this infection, and a balanced diet is key for all this. Next slide, please. So anemia is one of, as we can see that micronutrient deficiency is very prevalent in young students, in school going children, and anemia is one of the prime deficiency of hemoglobin in red blood cells in blood. And you can see that it has caused signs and symptoms are there in school children also, like they are feeling tired, they are feeling weak, they are not able to focus and concentrate on their day-to-day activities, even in class also, and this also reduce their capacity to work. So if you are going through any of these symptoms, consult your teachers, consult your parents, and also inform them that yes, I'm feeling like this. So it may be due to anemia also. Next slide, please. So how to tackle it? It's not very, very tough. All lies in your plate. So intake of iron rich foods like green vegetables. Now it's winters and you can consume different types of green vegetables, whole grains, jaggery, nuts, etc. Adequate and balanced nutrition covering all required nutrients. Avoid tea, coffee along with your food. Adding uh, foods with vitamin C in your regular diet. So what you can do, आप जब भी खाना खा रहे हो, तो you can add a lemon juice in your dal, which will increase your absorption of iron. You are having a meal, you can have a lemonade along with that, or orange juice or orange, fresh orange along with your meal, which will help better absorption of iron from your food. So जो भी आप खाना खा रहे हो, आपके food में जितना भी iron है, वो better absorb होगा अगर हम उसमें vitamin C rich foods भी include करते हैं. Include fortified staples like rice, wheat flour, double fortified salt in your diet. So fortified staples. So what is fortification for? Next slide, please. So there are foods available in the market in which additional micronutrients are added to provide you benefits. Like fortified milk is available, that is that has added vitamin A and D, and which prevents night blindness, supports strong bones. So and fortified rice and wheat flour are available, which has added iron, folic acid, B12, which helps you fight anemia. We have double fortified salt, which contains iron and iodine. So all these products are available in the market and they taste same as your normal staple like your rice. If you're consuming a fortified rice, taste, appearance, color, but it has added advantage that fortified rice has added micronutrients which will help you fight anemia and other micronutrient deficiencies. Next slide, please. So this is a very interesting video from one of your favorite cricketers, Virat Kohli, and you can just click the link in the chat box and see what he's saying about what we need to include in a diet and what we need to exclude. Next. Be physically active is your next tip, as discussed by previous speakers also. Physical activity for at least 60 minutes every day for children is very, very important. So अभी आप बाहर नहीं जा सकते, is there अगर lockdown है and you know that you are at home, so what you can do after every 30 minutes, just jump for 5 minutes. On the spot jumping will help you maintain your physical activity status during this pandemic also, and if you are at home also. And as Deepta ma'am suggests, download videos that focus on different physical activity. Koi dance ki video download kar lo, koi yoga video, whatever you like, just download that video and start doing physical activity daily. So instead of playing on phone, do play indoor activities like have a chess खेल लिया आपने या कैरम बोर्ड खेल लिया. So that will also help you in getting this physical activity जो हमारा 60 minutes complete करना है. And it's not possible that you're not going out, so it's not possible. Do it at home. So it is very, very interesting. आप अपनी Zoom call पे different अपना group बना के and see how you are performing as your friends. You can collaborate with your friends on Zoom call and do these Zumba classes and activities. Next slide, please. So next tip is, next slide, please. Consume local seasonal foods. So whatever is available locally, consume that. So abhi green leafy vegetables का season है, so consume that. And instead कि अगर आप summers में green leafy कर रहे हो, तो that means that vegetable is not fresh, वो preserve करी है. So avoid processed and preserved foods. Consume what is local seasonal foods. So what are the advantages of consuming that? It tastes better, it helps you stay healthy, it costs less, it is very cheap, and still it provides all the micronutrients and benefits. It costs less to the planet also, because अगर आप जो भी local available vegetable है consume कर रहे हैं, तो वो planet को कैसे cost less कर सकता है? So what if you are thinking about that? तो उसका ये है कि when you are ordering a thing that is not available in your area, तो उतना वो travel करके आएगा, तो that is causing इतना pollution हो रहा है. So it's always recommended to consume what is available near you rather than ordering a far thing. You can also help stop food wastage and support local economy. Next slide, please. So now you are eating a balanced diet but still falling sick. Reason is insufficient personal and surrounding hygiene. This could be a reason that you are having balanced diet, हम सब कुछ बहुत healthy खा रहे हैं, nutritious खा रहे हैं, but still we are falling sick. So what to do about that? Next slide, please. Next. To ensure good personal habits, wash your hands with soap and water after going to toilet, before having your meal, brushing your teeth, bathing daily, clipping nails of hands. Make sure that when you are in kitchen, have your hair are tied. You are not touching anything, any gadgets when you are consuming your food. So these are the small habits which you can adopt, and I'm sure that you are already maintaining these habits, and keep on maintaining these good personal habits to ensure that you are safe and healthy. Next slide, please. So you are maintaining your personal habits, but you need to maintain your surrounding also. That should also be clean. That it should not be like outside your house there is uh, dustbin is there which is not closed. So ensure that all these surrounding areas are also clean. So whatever you are throwing in your dustbin, that is also closed. You are cleaning your dustbins, and whatever you are throwing out, it is maintained. So all your surroundings should also be maintained. Wherever the food is getting prepared should also be clean every day. It should be maintained, and surrounding hygiene is very important. So that अगर आपने कुछ खाना खाया and you are watching a TV, वहीं आपने plate छोड़ दी and there are flies around that food, so that can cause infection. So whatever water is there, water should be in a closed container. It should not be open. So germs and infection should be prevented in your food. So whenever you are preparing food, your raw food, your cooked food should not be placed together. So these are the small things which you can adopt and learn. Next slide, please. So I request all the teachers also that corresponding to each tip, we have videos that is available on Eat Right School channel. So you can watch it and so when you are going out, ensure that you are reading labels and beverage logo, any food allergens are there, and the amount of fat, sugar, and salt content. So that has to be checked, that whatever you're consuming, suppose you're consuming a small packet, I should avoid that. And FSSAI is also coming up with warning labels and front of pack labeling, where you can check that what is this rating of that food and whether we should consume that or not. Next slide, please. So while buying your food, these are the 7 C's you have to follow. When you are going and buying something, check. Select the food that is fresh. When you are getting that food in your home, clean all the packages. Like if you're getting any fruits, just wash and then dry that and then keep it in the refrigerator. Or any vegetable you want to cook that at the time, or otherwise clean and keep it in the refrigerated or the temperature prescribed for that particular food. Cover all the foods and drinking water. Avoid cross contamination. Keep your raw and cooked food apart. It should not be placed together. Next slide, please. Cook thoroughly. Whatever you are cooking, cook your food very, very thoroughly. Cool and chill. If you're not consuming anything, just keep it in the refrigerator. Consume or serve food in clean environment. Wherever you are serving the food, that should be clean, and all the utensils that are there used for cooking, even for serving, should be clean. Next slide, please. Next, please. So now you are consuming everything balanced. You are maintaining personal and surrounding hygiene. Still, there is some problem. So what is that problem? Maybe the food, there is some adulteration in that food. So there is intentional addition of non-permitted foreign material. So to get profit, to increase weight, to increase volume of trade by showing lower prices. So these are the problems. But how to tackle that? Next slide, please. So for all the classes, we have developed food safety guidebooks according to class, mapped according to each curriculum, and all the teachers have we have circulated these manuals where you can learn that how we can detect common adulterants in our food, like for milk, in cream, in oil. So milk is adulterated with water. How we can check that? There are simple short videos, 20-second videos, where you can learn how to check that. Next slide, please. We have created this, FSSAI has created an easy toolkit to check for adulteration at school level. So there are 100 plus easy tests, and all the schools can get this magic box, and all these booklets are freely downloadable. You can download that, learn how you can check adulteration at home in your normal daily food items. Next slide, please. Next, please. So now we know that our food is healthy, our food is safe. But what we are doing as humans for this environment. So next is, we should always save food, share food. So whenever you are taking food, ask for small portions. Use your leftovers to make a new dish. Whenever you are shopping, shop smart. Whatever you require, only shop that. Don't overload. Check your fridge before going to shop, and whatever you are purchasing first should be consumed first. For example, you have purchased 2 packets of paneer, one today, and the second packet 3 days after that. So the first packet should be consumed first, and then the next packet should be consumed. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए जो आपने 3 days बाद खरीदा है उसको पहले यूज कर लिया और जो पहले खरीदा था वो और ज्यादा पुराना हो गया. So practice this. So understand dates on your food. Turn waste into compost. Sharing is caring. So you know that there are many people who cannot afford, or they don't have enough food. So you, as a citizen of this country and as a young role model, can promote this activity. Save food and consume whatever is required by you. Don't waste food. So it is very, very important to learn this. Next slide, please. I think this video will not have sound. Then yeah, next step. This is covered by everyone, and again I'm reiterating this message that eat mindfully. Take small portions. Stop eating when you are about 80% full. Choose carefully and avoid tasting everything in a buffet. Don't get affected by advertisements. Like you don't like a thing, but उसके साथ toys free आ रहे हैं. Then you think कि मुझे ये लेना है, and you start eating that, and it may not be required by your body also, और आपको tasty भी नहीं लग रहा, but still that toy की वजह से we need to buy that thing. So avoid that, and whatever you are eating, focus on that. That there should be no distraction, no TV. Next slide, please. Whenever you are consuming food, eating food, sit quietly and have your food. Don't eat if not hungry. Avoid eating in front of screen. Don't make food as a form. This is for parents and teachers. And avoid binge eating, that आप अपना movie देख रहे हैं and you are just eating without thinking that how much I need and मुझे भूख लग भी रही है या नहीं, कि मेरा पेट भर चुका है, but still I am watching TV, I am eating. So just listen to what your body needs and what is required. So that is the key, that you have to be mindful about what you want to eat. Next slide, please. So teaching children early about how to handle and prepare food safety helps to create new generations of healthy consumers. Next, we have a small quiz if you want, or we can just have a question answer session. So if we are running late, we can have a question answer session.
We are actually running short of time, but we can take.
Session, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. And for this quiz, I have shared, and I request all the teachers from the school, you can play and circulate this quiz among the students. Thank you.
I see some people raising their hands. So, would you like to give them a chance to ask questions, Joseph?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, maybe 1 or 2 questions we can take. Anybody would like to ask?
I think they're not being unmuted. So,
Accidentally, also children are raising hands. Some of them.
Anika Malik has been raising her hand for a very long time.
I think accidentally some of them have raised hands as well. Yeah. Probably.
Yeah, we can move to.
Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you, Dr. Joshita, for this very wonderful and meaningful session on eating right. So I'm sure children would have enjoyed your session, and it has a lot of practical ways of eating right. I'm sure it will help all our children and the participants as well. So thank you once again on behalf of the organizers for taking effort to
Hello.
share your.
May I
Yes.
know the name of all the panelists?
Sorry.
May I know the name of all the panelists?
Yeah, we can send you the invitation, like the program schedule, where you can find all the names of the facilitators. Is it right? Can you write to us?
Hello.
Yes.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Sir, it's somewhat related to diseases. We always say that a person who gets, if we catch cold or cough when we, at the time of season change, it's because of low immune. Is it really about low immune, or else our body is reacting to the bacteria, and that's why we are getting cold and cough? It's good or bad?
Okay. So can I request Dr. Deepta Nagpal, who spoke about malnutrition and immunity, to answer this question? It's available. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, see, the infections, the flus, and the influenza, and these all seasonal things are common. Yes, when the temperatures are very low, certain kind of bacteria and viruses are common in the atmosphere, and few people get it, few people don't get it, and few people who get it heal themselves very faster, but few people are not able to. They have to take antibiotics. If I would like to quote an example of pandemic situation here. You have seen like how people, there were many people who died, but there were many people who were just at home and having such very mild symptoms, but there were people who were in the ICUs, who were on the ventilators also. So this is how the immunity works. The bacteria, the viruses, the microbes, they are all around when the season comes, but how your body react to that certain kind of a foreign element is all about your immunity. So how you eat, how you take care of yourself, and the immunity doesn't come in a month or a week. It at least takes 3 to 4 to 6 months, to put an effort, and then you see the result. So eating well, sleeping on time, exercising, eating more greens, more seasonal, more colored fruits which have antioxidants, eating nuts, and taking care of yourself, and you will see how different you will feel, especially in this season when it's November and December. I get a lot of inquiries from North India. जब smog और ये fog इकट्ठे होता है, a lot of kids who come with immunity issues, and I tell them eat natural as much as possible. Prepare yourself for this season. The day you will start preparing, few weeks back, start eating well. Give yourself 1 week. Give yourself 1 week. Do not open any packets. Eat ghar ka khana as much as possible. Sleep well. You will find a difference. The way you will get up, how fresh you will feel. Jo tongue hoti hai, it will be more cleaner. Why is the tongue cleaner and why is the tongue white? Because of the microbes which are inside. The good microbes will fight against the nasty bacteria, and you will feel better. Your body will show.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Ajay can.
Joseph, you're muted.
Okay, sorry. So Devansh and Parnit, do you have a question to ask? Devansh and Parnit, you raised your hands.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead. Parnit, you can ask your question.
Ma'am, is there any cure of the celiac disease?
Okay, celiac disease has to be maintained. It's an autoimmunity. You have to really take care of the gluten, not only from the wheat but from the barley and the other sources also. But celiac, it depends upon the severity of celiac. There can be celiac which is symptomatic. There can be celiac which is non-symptomatic. When I say symptomatic, you straight away have the reaction, and non-symptomatic means you can have a bloated stomach, you can just not feel good, or you can have some skin rash, things like that. So it depends upon the severity of the disease. But if you have been diagnosed with celiac, you have to avoid gluten for sure. But uh, uh, with that, you have to take care of your the immunity. You have to take care of the nutritional deficiencies which you can get because you're not taking the major food group. So you have to change the carbohydrate, the cereal, the grain which you are having. You have to take care of the micro minerals. You have to make the gut lining really strong, because the celiac from a long time would have done some damage. Celiac can make your intestines a little porous, and in the adult age, many people, those especially with the non-symptomatic celiac disorders, get IBS and stuff like that. When especially the women in the menopausal situations, or men, when you have stress, you show your more of the the gut reactions are seen at that time. You have to take care of your diet. You have to take care of your micro minerals. You have to avoid inflammatory foods. When I say inflammatory foods, it's gluten, it's sugar, it's hydrogenated fat, the dalda and the trans fats which ma'am mentioned earlier. जो बार बार तेल को फ्राई करना. जब आप कोई पैकेट फूड खोलते हो, उसकी जो first 3 ingredients read करो. If the first 3 ingredients has maida or any refined flour, or if that packet has hydrogenated oil as a first 3 ingredient, or sugar, you should avoid it definitely. You have to eat well. You have to eat nuts, seeds, fruits, vegetables, fish, chicken, bone broth, to make yourself strong and to fight the other nutritional deficiencies and the effects which celiac can have later.
Thank you. Yeah. Sumit, you have a question to ask. Sumit? Sumit, I see your hands raised.
Sir,
Would you like to
I have
ask?
a question to put forward.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. I'm
Who is going first? Sumit, yeah. Go ahead, Sumit. We'll come back to Anika later. Yeah.
Good afternoon. I am Tanishka Dugal basically. So I want to ask, how do I know if I'm getting all the nutrition I need?
Okay, so biochemically speaking, you can go through the tests, annually or once in 2 years. And if I say, clinically, if you come to me, if you go to a doctor, if you go to any medical practitioner, they will see your nails. They can check through the clinical thing. Okay, I physically the nails are pale or they have some spots. They will see your skin. They will see the sunken eyes ki pani properly piti hai bacha ya nahi. They will see the hair. They will check your height. They will check your weight. They will get to know. But what you like, if you want really to get checked your vitamin D levels, just not the hemoglobin, but the iron levels, especially the girls who are menstruating and not eating well, you should get your iron levels checked, because I have seen in my Indian patients, hemoglobin ठीक होता है मगर iron binding capacity और iron का levels बहुत low है. So you can go and get your B12 checked, iron checked, and magnesium deficiency is another thing which is very common among the students and among the kids these days. The way the vitamin D has been, it's like people are aware of vitamin D now. Very soon, magnesium will be the another supplement. India may be nahi hai, but here it has started. The another supplementation will be of magnesium very soon. So you have to go to the doctor to get it checked.
Can I also
Yes, Dr.
add?
Yeah.
So, I'm glad that students are asking these kind of questions, because probably we've raised that, the thought process. So for you, yes, as what ma'am has mentioned, all those tests are there. But in case you're feeling lethargic, in case you're feeling dull, in case you're falling ill repeatedly, the concentration in your studies is poor, then there is something going wrong in your diet. It's like maybe you've still not reached the frank clinical deficiency. When you start seeing the fall in hemoglobin, when you start seeing the fall in the biochemical levels, but you need to catch it before. So your body starts telling you, start sensing these signals. Be very careful about these signals. The moment you feel that, as ma'am mentioned, you need to sleep on time. If you're studying late, if you're waking, now there are online classes. I have teenage boys, they just wake up 5 minutes before the class starts. So that you will not be able to attend the class in a manner which you will be able to absorb. So there is something going wrong in the sleep pattern. Your body will give you these signals, and as long as you're able to, as long as you're fresh, you're attentive, you're not falling ill, things are fine.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Bonnie. Anika, you have a question to ask. You raised your hand sometime back.
Yes,
Anika?
sir.
Okay,
Sir, I
thank you
want
so
to
much.
ask that it was told that while going for buying any of the stuff, and if we are buying any kind of packed food, whenever required, we should check the labelings, like whatever what all contents it has. But ma'am, later on, it was also said that we are not the layman is not aware of what exactly those codes mean. So now what do we have to spot that if this is mentioned, it is wrong, and this has to be there?
Yeah, Dr. Bonnie, you can answer this. There was some
Right.
presentation.
So yeah, that's an interesting question. So the labels will definitely give you an idea that, as I mentioned, there are certain things the thumb rules which you keep in mind. So if you're consuming foods which are, say, if you read the label of a sugar sweetened beverage, I'm not going to name, you can only see that there is nothing else except some sugar or some calories or some sodium or some preservative added to it. There is no mention of any nutrient. So maybe you're not very clear about what the amount says. Maybe you're not clear about what the values indicate and the figures indicate, but you know that these are the nutrients which I want. So what you want is vitamins and minerals. What you don't want is salt, sugar, preservatives. And as a thumb rule, as I mentioned, if anything is less than 5%, and there is also, and for lay people only, the labels also mention the percentage it gives you for the daily value which you should consume. So a percentage daily value is a very good way to figure out if it is less than 5%. it is low in that particular nutrient or that or that foodstuff. And if it is more than 20%, it is going to give you a largely higher amount of that nutrient. So look for foods which you want more in certain foods. If the food is claiming it to be a high protein food and it is providing only about 5 to 6% of the protein for the daily value, it's a wrong claim. You shouldn't go for it. It was also mentioned by Dr. Joshita that FSSAI is coming up with certain such numbers. It will give you a scale. This is essentially being done for these labels to become self-educational so that people can make informed choices. But basically we have to start reading the labels and you will yourself start figuring out that इसमें तो nutrients है ही नहीं है, इसमें सिर्फ energy है, calorie है, added sugars हैं, salt है, sodium है, preservatives है, and that's about it. Like even ma'am mentioned, Deepta, that you start reading the first 3 ingredients, you'll get to know that ये मैदा ही है, इसमें sugar है, मैदा है, and there's nothing else. In fact, there are hidden forms of sugar added. They say cane sugar, molasses is added. They may not say sugar as such. So we need to really become smart that way.
Yeah, I would like to add one thing, just one thing. Longer the ingredient list, more the chemicals or hormonal disruptors it has. Shorter it, so uska matlab it's more safer.
And what about the trans fat? Like we all know that fried and baked things have trans fat, but nowadays there's a trend going on in the most of the packets of biscuits or namkeens. It's clearly written over there on the top, free of trans fat. They are claiming something if we are focusing on their claim, but in reality, is that true?
So can I answer that?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so you see, FSSAI is now being very strict on all processed foods. They are saying that there should be no trans fat. In fact, they are gradually reducing, they're telling the manufacturers to reduce the amount of trans fat in the processed foods which are available in India. So sometimes, but manufacturers become smart. They may claim the food to be trans fat free, whereas actually it is not trans fat free because they play with the serving size. So if the food has a very little amount of trans fat, 0.2 grams of trans fat per serving size, they can claim it to be trans fat free because sometimes even natural foods have trans fat. So what they do is they become smart. They decrease the serving size and they claim it to be trans fat free. So as a consumer, what you need to do is you need to find out that what are these foods which could be high in trans fat. So foods which are using oil, which is hydrogenated, the moment you read vanaspati, it will have trans fat. The moment you see foods which are fried repeatedly in your canteens, if there is samosas and patties and burgers are available, they will be fried repeatedly and the trans fat content will be high. So the effort is being made by the regulatory authorities to ensure that there is complete elimination of trans fat, but it's going to take a little time. But nonetheless, most of the food industry is now moving towards becoming trans fat free.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Bani and Dr. Deepta for answering all the questions. So we will move on now. Children, if you have any other question, please feel free to post to us in the chat box. We will try to answer. So meanwhile, this event, this webinar is being partnered with the Varshini Teachers Group, who is the technical partner of this webinar. So Varshini Teachers Group is a group of academicians, scientists and teachers working in diversified areas of issues related with the education and creation of knowledge. The primary activities of VTG includes responding to children's questions, either on the school curriculum or their observations, and on their curiosities or imaginations. Besides, the group has been organizing webinars on diversified topics ranging from mathematics to medicine to arts to culture to agriculture to physics to economics to gender issues and so far and so on. The group provides a platform to school teachers, amateurs, and renowned scientists and academicians for discussing their ideas. The group has so far organized around 40 talks in 28 sessions. I would like to invite Dr. Gagan Gupta, coordinator of VTG Group, to come and say a few words for our participants. Dr. Gagan Gupta. Okay, I think he is not available. So let's move forward. So now it's time to close this event with a closing remark. I would like to invite Mr. Rakesh Gaur, the founder president of Udisha, the agency which is hosting this event. So over to Mr. Rakesh Gaur, please. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. As you all know, the pandemic has changed the way the life is going to be in future. This is for the second time in Udisha's coalition partnership of 17 years with Women's World Summit Foundation, a Geneva-based organization, in their international campaign on prevention of child abuse, that we have organized events, the webinar and the poster printing competition in virtual mode. We are sorry for any glitches and inconvenience caused to our participants, speakers, and partner organizations. This year in the campaign, we focused on the theme of malnutrition in the context of COVID-19 pandemic and child welfare. The children, although less directly affected by the virus, are paying a heavy price through the indirect effects of the crisis, including poor diet and mental health impacted amongst others. I take this opportunity to specially thank Ms. Ellie Prederwand, President, Women's World Summit Foundation, for her talk in spite of her and her sister's poor health. The speakers, Dr. Deepta Nagpal, Dr. Bani, and Dr. Joshita, have given an insight into the problem of malnutrition with specific reference to children and its prevention. Mr. Robin David, who spoke on recent challenges in child protection, is also associated with Udisha since 2010 for the last more than 10 years. I thank all the speakers for sparing time out of their busy schedule and providing valuable information. I'm grateful to Mr. Wesley Joseph for conducting the webinar so proficiently. I'm also grateful to Dr. Gagan Gupta from NCRT and Vashni Teacher Group for handling the technical part, that is live streaming, registration, and issue of e-certificates. We could have not organized the webinar without their technical support. I thank Shri Kamalji Arora, District and Sessions Judge and Secretary, Delhi State Legal Services Authority, for supporting the webinar and circulating its information among all the District Legal Services Authority and empaneled lawyers. The State Council of Educational Research and Training has also been supporting our campaign, and this year also, teachers, trainees, and faculty from different DITES, that is District Institute of Educational Technology, have participated in the webinar. Last but not the least, I'm really grateful to Jyoti Arora ma'am, Principal of Mount Abu Public School, who represented Action Committee, which is our principal partner, and consistently guided the team in preparation of the webinar and poster painting competition on malnutrition in children, the other event which is being organized in this campaign. So I'm really grateful to Jyoti Arora ma'am and the whole team, particularly Shilpi ma'am and other teachers who were involved in this preparation. To conclude, I would say that WWSF annual campaign, that is Women's World Summit Foundation's annual campaign, which aims to reach out and mobilize increased civil society and create a global network for NGOs and grassroots groups, share innovative measures for a culture of prevention of violence and abuse against children and youth. One of the sub-themes of the campaign is prevention of malnutrition. Even if some of the participants become aware of the problem of malnutrition and its prevention and child protection through this webinar and disseminate this information further to arise awareness in others, we would be satisfied that we have contributed our bit in preventing this problem. Thank you all again.
Thank you, Mr. Rakesh Gaur. So thank you everyone for actively participating in this. Once again, would like to thank all the speakers for sharing your rich experience and knowledge with all of us. So with that, I would like to close this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.
all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
I'm not so focused on, anything, the people